January 4th, 2015 was a very important day in wrestling history. Not only was it Wrestle Kingdom 10, one of the biggest wrestling events of all time, it was also allegedly the day that AJ Styles, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, and Shinsuke Nakamura all gave their notice to New Japan Pro Wrestling that they were leaving the company. All four of them ended up signing with WWE. AJ Styles debuted historically at the 2016 Royal Rumble, while Gallows and Anderson followed him and showed up on the April 11th episode of Raw. But for Shinsuke Nakamura, he had a different route to go within the company. He was going through NXT, baby. On April 1st, 2016, at NXT Takeover Dallas, Nakamura faced off against Sami Zayn in what many people think was the match of the year of 2016. Mattel seems to think that it was a defining moment in Shinsuke's WWE career. So what we are looking at today is his first ever WWE Mattel figure release. Is it strong and does it have style? Let's check it out. Okay, so let's unbox this figure. Now, one thing I found very funny about the design for the box is that one trend of this video you'll definitely hear over and over is that I don't think Shinsuke was ready for a defining moments, and I find it really funny how they usually make like defining iconic looks or something and they make it into the packaging, but I find it really funny that it seems like they were like, all right, we're making a Shinsuke Nakamura defining moment. What should we do for the design? Leather, buttons, and zipper, and that should be good. That's Shinsuke Nakamura. Because it's like, yeah, what's going on there? I don't think it works as well. Like the back, that looks kind of cool, like lights, but you realize it's just the design of his vest. I don't know if for me that's the most defining look. That's the most defining iconographic thing that you think of Shinsuke Nakamura. You think of those zippers and those beads and those leather, but to some people maybe, but for me, I just think it's too early to get a Shinsuke Nakamura defining moments because I don't think he's had his defining moment yet. But let's take it out of the box and you can see what I was talking about back there. Yet again, we see more beads, more zippers, more leather, and a picture of Nakamura pointing at you. Here he is packaged in there, looking Nakamura. Here's his shirt. And he does have a couple pieces of elastic holding his feet down. And then once you remove those, you remove the figure from the box. Let's check it out. Holy red alert, toy fans! This figure is very red. Out of the box, it's a little overwhelming, to be honest. Now, before you type out your rant in the comments about how this is how his attire looks and it's actually kind of accurate, I want to point out some inaccuracies, because this is a Tommy Toy Travels review. It wouldn't be a Tommy Toy Travels review if I didn't point out what was wrong with the item. Am I right or am I right? So, what's wrong with it? For Nakamura's debut match against Sami Zayn, he wore a black belt and his boots had black soles. I think that by busting out some black paint on those sections, it would have really helped tone down the red overload. And sure, you might think that I'm being picky with the soles, but if a Naomi Basic can have painted soles, shouldn't a Shinsuke Nakamura defining moment release have painted soles too? Maybe Mattel used all of their black paint budget on the face's way too dark facial hair scruff. And speaking of face, let's bust to that section. Okay, the face. We're here, baby. Seems like most people are split on this one. I hear some people calling it a splitting image, while the other 50% say that it's not really there. For me, I think they're both right. I think that the right side of his face definitely has the Shinsuke style, wherein his left isn't as strong and is a bit wide. I also think that Mattel gave him too much facial hair, and it's too dark, as I mentioned before. The hair looks great, and I'm happy to see they sculpted his buzzed off section. Strong stuff. Let's talk articulation. Mattel created pretty much a whole new mold for this guy, and it really succeeds on many levels. I'm really happy to see that Mattel are finally sculpting knee pads instead of relying on the plastic ones that limit articulation. This allows Shinsuke to move his knees so far back and bust out his classic pose. It's awesome, trust me. Hopefully, we'll be seeing more of this trend. He also has a new torso, and to me, it seems like the articulation on that is not too different from other elites. His head doesn't really move to look up, but it does look down. His right arm, though, is super loose. I don't like when that happens, but I'm not going to take away from the star rating for that. He comes with 2 to 3 accessories depending on how you look at it. He has a bandana on his bicep, which is kind of soft plastic, and he also comes with an entrance shirt and an entrance vest jacket thing. The entrance shirt is a pain to put on and take off, and is kind of painted in a kind of satiny type paint, which looks different from the other red on his body. The vest, though, is very well sculpted, has paint details on the dots. Unfortunately, those paint details are a bit larger than the dots, but that's only noticeable if you put your face right up to it and look closely. But overall, I think that these accessories work really well, and if the shirt wasn't that difficult to put on or take off, it would be a home run. Right now, it's just like, I don't know baseball, but it's like in football, you kick off, or I shouldn't do sport references. One of my most divisive videos was when I called out Mattel for not living up to the defining moments line nom de plume, and this release, in my mind, continues that trend. I don't think that a debut is really defining for someone's career unless it's like a huge surprise, like AJ Styles in the Royal Rumble or Sting's Survivor Series, both times being people that you never thought you'd see in a WWE ring. Sure, Nakamura might be like that, but his debut wasn't in the WWE ring. It was in the NXT ring. And is this not WWE defining moments? You know, his debut was on the WWE Farm League, and that's not what I'd call defining at all. And for a wrestler as celebrated as Nakamura, I see it as a bit of an insult and rushing the gun, shooting it off way too soon. It was definitely a high-rated match by many critics and fans, but unless Shinsuke suffers a career-ending injury or gets in some huge scandal, in my eyes, he hasn't had his WWE defining moment. Now here's an interesting proposition. What if this figure was an Elite 48 and AJ Styles became the defining moment? Sure, the AJ Styles had its flaws and certainly isn't accessorized like the DMs should be, but to be honest, Shinsuke's not really either. But I think AJ works more as the defining moment title because his surprise entrance in the Royal Rumble was absolutely defining. And in a sense, it defined a new era in the WWE, in my opinion. The AJ Styles era. That's probably not what I'm going to name it. And I also want to note that I think it would be better to have cases full of AJ Styles instead of shelf-warm bait Nakamura. I'd be fine paying $5 more for AJ Styles. That figure is tough as nails to get right now, but $5 more for this Nakamura, who I don't even know if he'd be that hard to find. Asuka's not hard to find in the Elite series, but I'm just not thinking that this is a very good deal, $25 for this figure. Plus, I always hear collectors getting all up in arms about other collectors being displeased with having to pay more money than necessary. For me, unless it's making a hard-to-find figure easier to find, I always disagree with the fiscal elitists. Kids are a huge demographic of toy collecting. I'm not sure if they make up more or less than adult collectors like myself when it comes to lines like defining moments, but for someone saving up their money for a figure, $5 could make or break a purchase. Mattel really needs to stop cutting costs on this line because it's really alienating their customer base. They're biting the hand that feeds them, and sooner or later, even the most hardcore apologists will find an old school defining moment figure and compare it to this and realize that they've been swindled. So who would you rather have seen in the defining moments line? What moment are you waiting to have recreated in figure form? For me, it's Daniel Bryan's WrestleMania 30 moment. That would be sick. And yo, this is not the first time I reviewed a Nakamura figure. He had an NJPW non-articulated statue that I reviewed about a year ago. Let's check that out and see a bit of a comparison, shall we?
I just can't get over the detail and the stretchiness of the paint. Just the form of this guy. Hair's beautifully crafted. Some angles the face works, but overall I'm not really getting a sense of who he is. The hands are amazing. Just to see the detail in those, the craftsmanship. This is a good statue. It's great.
I think the sculpting on the $60 figure is obviously better, but they are different attires. The head sculpt on the statue looks more Nakamura to me, but neither of these figures actually get it 100%. Maybe when Mattel gets another chance to try again with the Nakamura head, they'll actually get it right. Unless they're going to pull a Stone Cold Steve Austin and pretty much just give us one head sculpt for every single figure release, which would be terrible. But let's wrap this up. I've spoken far too long. This is certainly a serviceable figure. It has a nice sculpt, accessories that fit the wrestler, but unfortunately the Playmates level paint. It's overpriced, but to be honest, that's par for the course with defining moments in this day and age. If you've really been wanting a figure and not wanting to drop the 50 or 60 to get the non-articulated statue, this is for you. For me though, I'm disappointed because it's continuing Mattel's trend of wasting their customers' money so they can get a new wrestler. I'm sure a lot of people were expecting me to come in here and say stuff like, yo, this figure is poodoo so much, and if you buy it, you should be ashamed of yourself. But I kind of dig it, other than the aforementioned negatives. I'd say it's about a 3.5 figure, and if they painted that belt and didn't have it overpriced, it would be a solid 4. But enough with the negativity, let's end this with some points of positivity. We finally have a figure of Nakamura. Awesome, right? And the paint on his vest? Really great. The sculpt on his body? Awesome. Defining moments line so it won't be difficult to get? Good stuff. Sculpted knee pads so the legs articulate better than any other figure's legs with knee pads? Amazing. Seriously, great stuff that I hope to see more of. I love when Mattel actually innovates. Also, even though I criticize this figure for not painting the belt, that allows me to do it myself and bust out a fig hack fix-up in the upcoming weeks. Thanks, Mattel. I'll see you guys. Have a nice day. Tommy out. Hello. Check. Is this good? Yeah, this is good. No, that's too loud.